Deep in the heart of Florida lies one of the oldest and wildest forests in the state. It's home to over 600 natural springs, but only a few are open to explore. So we set out to find the best springs hidden within the Ocala National Forest. Alexander Springs is one of Florida's rare first magnitude springs, meaning it pumps out over 64 million gallons of fresh, crystal clear water every single day. The spring forms a large, gently sloping swimming area that stays refreshing 72 degrees all year round, making it a perfect place for swimming, snorkeling, or just cooling off. It's one of the only springs in Florida where scuba diving is allowed in the main swimming area. Surrounded by lush tropical subforest, the recreation area offers something for everyone. One of the absolute highlights of our trip to Alexander Springs was paddling the spring run. The full spring run stretches about 6 miles all the way down to the St. Johns River, winding through a peaceful, undeveloped corridor of the Ocala National Forest. The water here is incredibly clear, and the surrounding ecosystem is full of life. It is an out and back run, so you will need to paddle against the current as you return back to the spring area. If you're looking to do some hiking, the Timaquan Trail is a mile-long interpretive loop that begins right at the spring area. It was unfortunately closed for renovations during our visit, but normally it takes you through the shaded boardwalk and offers insight into the indigenous history of this area. If you want a longer hike, there's also the Alexander Springs Loop Trail, which is a 12.4-mile loop that connects to a section of the Florida Scenic Trail. Alexander Springs has a peaceful campground just steps away from the spring itself. There are 67 campsites available, and they're open year-round for tents, vans, and RVs up to 35 feet. Though keep in mind that there's no electric or water pump hookups. Fern Hammock Springs is a picturesque second magnitude spring located within the Juniper Springs recreation area. You do need to walk or drive just about a mile through the Juniper Springs campground to reach the spring, where there is a 0.3-mile loop trail that goes around it. There are no recreation facilities in this area like the other springs, so it barely gets any visitors. Nestled in a quiet corner of the forest, this spring has over 25 scattered sand boils at the bottom of the main pool, with the largest one under a wooden footbridge that spans the spring. These sand boils are a unique characteristic of this spring. And swimming is prohibited in Fern Hammock Springs due to ecological considerations and to protect the natural environment in sand boils. There's not a whole lot to do here except enjoy the quiet natural beauty and stillness of nature. The Timaquan Indians once believed places like this were sacred spiritual gateways. Standing here surrounded by moss-covered trees and quiet, rippling water, it's definitely easy to understand why. If you're visiting Juniper Springs, definitely take the time to make the detour to see this hidden slice of paradise. Juniper Springs is a popular recreation area known for its beautiful springs, lush surroundings, and clear waters. It's set in a unique subtropical forest, an oasis within the drier Big Scrub ecosystem. The main spring emerges into a pool roughly about 135 feet long and 80 feet wide, surrounded by a rock and concrete basin. There's also a historic mill house with a water mill built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s, which originally generated electricity for the recreation area. Swimming and snorkeling is allowed in the main spring pool, which is a second magnitude spring. The Juniper Springs Nature Trail is a 0.8-mile trail that leads through a subtropical forest and connects to Fern Hammock Springs. However, the highlight of Juniper Springs is the scenic 7-mile paddle run that winds through the dense subtropical forest and crystal clear spring water. This is one of the top kayak runs in the country. The trip is a total of 7.3 miles downstream through the Juniper Prairie Wilderness area, where you'll get shuttled back to the recreation area. It is important to note that this course is not suitable for beginners. This course can be very challenging as you encounter narrow passageways, shallow areas with underwater obstacles, hairpin turns, Class 1 rapids, and you'll need to be able to limbo under low-hanging trees and vegetation. And it's not just one or two areas like this. You'll come across challenging areas the entire way down the 7-mile course. But if you're an experienced paddler, then you'll absolutely love this route. This trip starts with breathtaking scenery and doesn't let up the entire trip. You will be kayaking through the middle of nowhere, natural Florida wilderness. Juniper Springs has a campground, but note that there are no sites with full hookups for RVs. Silver Glen Springs is a prominent first magnitude spring and is a popular day-use recreation area known for its clear, beautiful waters. It's set in a unique subtropical forest setting with abundant shade from live oaks. The crystal clear water makes it an excellent spot for swimming and snorkeling. You can observe diverse aquatic life, including striped bass and tilapia. The spring features 2 large vents that feed into the Silver Glen Run, which leads to Lake George, the second largest lake in Florida. You are able to paddle the entire spring run, which is about 3/4 of a mile long. One of the unique things that you can see here are these bass beds that are sprinkled all along the spring run. Once you hit Lake George, you'll pass by a few islands and a sandbar before making it into the lake. And Lake George is huge, and you can barely see the other side of it. The waters in the lake are a lot more choppy since there's a lot more boats out on the lake, so it does make it a bit more difficult to navigate. The area surrounding the spring is a significant archaeological site featuring large shell middens, ancient shell heaps left by Native Americans who inhabited the area thousands of years ago. There are 2 main hiking trails as well. The Spring Boils Trail is a 3/4 mile trail that leads to an area with bubbling sand boils, a fascinating natural phenomenon. These boils are created when the water escapes underground aquifers and creates this illusion of boiling sand under the water. There are 2 observation decks where you can view the sand boils. The one on the right-hand side has one largest sand boil, and the one on the left has multiple little boils that are spread throughout the little cove spring. The Lake George Trail is a longer 2.3-mile trail that goes towards the shoreline of Lake George. It's a great way to get away from the crowds, and at the end you're rewarded with this beautiful sandy beach overlooking Lake George. One thing to note about the spring area is that it is incredibly popular, especially among boaters. Boaters will line up all along the spring run and blast their music for everyone to hear. So if you're looking for some peace and quiet, this spring might not be the spring for you. And also, Silver Glen is primarily a day-use area and does not offer any overnight camping facilities. Salt Springs is a 2nd magnitude spring in a semi-tropical environment that serves as a major attraction for both day-use visitors and campers. The spring is named for its natural mineral spring, which contains a mix of magnesium, potassium, and sodium salts, giving the water a slightly salty taste. Salt Springs is a top spot for snorkelers. There are multiple cavernous spring heads to explore in the swimming area, and it has all of these rock formations all throughout with these little valleys where wildlife love to hang out. We spotted tons of blue crab hiding here among the rocks. The blue crabs are a unique thing to this spring because they are usually found in brackish or salt water, so seeing them in a freshwater spring is a little bit of a surprise. But thanks to the mineral-rich water, they actually thrive here. The main spring pool has been modified with concrete walls in recent years to control erosion. So once you're in, it almost kind of feels like you're in a community pool rather than a wild, natural spring. I do much prefer the natural beach-style settings like Alexander Springs, but this is still a beautiful and unique place to swim and explore. Salt Springs boasts the largest campground in the Ocala National Forest and is the only one with full hookups for RVs in addition to tent-only primitive sites. There are no kayak or canoe rentals here, but you are able to launch your own boat just down to the road at Salt Springs Marina for a $20 fee. If you're up for hiking, there is a Salt Springs hiking trail loop that's about a mile down the road from the recreation area. The trail is about 2 miles long with an observation deck at the end for bird watching. We did plan on checking this out, but unfortunately there were wildfires in the area during our visit, so we had to skip this one while we were there. The Ocala National Forest is a spring lover's dream, but no two springs are alike. Which spring is best depends on what activities you prefer to do. Salt Springs has the best snorkeling experience, while the best paddling run definitely belongs to Juniper. And Alexander has a great combo of both. But all of them are windows into Florida's wild heart and reminders that the real beauty in this place is just below the surface. If you found any of this information helpful, I would love it if you would hit the like button and subscribe if you would love to find more incredible things to do in Florida and beyond. I create a new video every week, and the best way to be able to see them is by subscribing. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my channel members. You guys help keep this channel going, and I couldn't be more thankful. If you would like to help support what we do here and get exclusive emotes, early access to our videos, and more, click the link in the video description for more details. If you would like to find even more beautiful springs to explore in Florida, then you're in luck because I've got an entire playlist for you that just popped up on the screen. In this playlist, I'm going to go through a number of incredible springs you won't want to miss. Until next time.